So this is the Leaving Cert Ordinary Level 2023, Paper 2, Question 1. It says point A, 4,2 and point B, 1,8 are 2 points on the coordinate plane. Work out the slope of line AB. So we're looking for the slope between these 2 points. So what you need to do there is you need to open up your log tables, go to the coordinate geometry section, which in this case is on page 18, and you need to look for the slope. Okay, so we can see there the slope, everything down along the left hand side is Oscuelga, everything down along the right hand side is in English. So I stick to the English. So let's go to slope, and we can see that it's going to be m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So looking at this, we've got the same formula here. We've got 2 coordinates. We can label the first value x, the second value y, and we can put a 1 beside each of them because they're both in the first coordinate. The second coordinate b, we can put an x beside, or x overhead the 1 and a y overhead the 8, because this represents the x coordinate, this represents the y, and we can put a little 2 next to both of them because they're both in the second coordinate. So we take our formula and now we just sub in our values. So our values is y2, which in this case is 8, minus y2, or y1, which is 2, all over x2, which in this case is 1, minus, and then we have to get our x1, which in this case is 4. 8 take away 2 leaves us with 6, 1 take away 4 leaves us with negative 3, 6 divided by negative 3, you could type it into a calculator, but it'll give us negative 2. And that there was worth 10 marks. Next, we were asked to work out the distance between 2 points. So we wanted to get the distance between AB. So this symbol here just means the line AB. So work out the distance between the line, or between the points A and B. So again, we can label our points x1 and y1, x2 and y2. Okay. X always comes first. If you're unsure, just think about the alphabet. X always comes first in the alphabet. W, X, Y, and Z. Y always comes second. Okay, so in order to get the distance, we need to be able to use the distance formula. So again, we'll go back into our log tables again. Page 18 again, because we're looking at coordinate geometry. This time we're looking at the distance formula, and the distance formula is the same as the length. Okay, so you can see there it's the same, they've labelled it similarly. So you can see it's the length of the line PQ, and in this case we're looking at P and Q. We're obviously looking at A and B, so it's just different coordinates. So it's the square root of x2 minus x1 to be squared plus y2 minus y1 to be squared. So again, I'd write that into my exam paper if I was you. The formula, as we got from the log tables just a second ago. And now we just need to fill in the numbers. So instead of x2, I'm going to put in 1. Take away. Instead of x1, I'm going to put in 4. Close your brackets and square it. Close your brackets and square it. Plus, open your brackets. Instead of y2, I'm going to put in 8. Take away, and instead of y1, I'm going to put in 2. Close your brackets, and square it, Okay, 1 take away 4 leaves us with negative 3 to be squared. Plus, 8 take away 2 is going to give us 6. So that'll be 6 to be squared. When we square a negative, if we get negative 3 to be squared, that's just negative 3 times negative 3, which gives us a negative by a negative gives us a positive. 3 by 3 gives us 9. 6 squared is 6 by 6. 6 by 6 is giving us 36. And again, we're adding the 2 of them. So we still have our square root. If we add 9 and 36, we get 45. And if you type the square root of 45 into your calculator, you will get 3 root 5. And that was for 10 marks. This brings us on to the last part of that question, which is part B. So for part B, it said, find the equation of the line through the point minus 2, 7 with a slope of 1 over 3. Okay, so from that, we should be able to label our points x1, y1, and obviously our slope is going to represent, we use the letter m to represent slope. Okay, give your answer in the form of ax plus by plus c all equal to 0, where a, b, and c are elements of z. So that just means that a, b, and c are going to be integers, positive and negative whole numbers, including 0. Okay. So again, we're asked to get the equation of a line, so we bring back in our log tables and we have a look and see what's on page 18 in terms of the equation. So if we want to get the equation of a line, we've got 2 choices. Okay, so we can do either the first one, which is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1, or we can do the second one, which is y equals mx plus c. The second one we use if we know the intercept, so the y-intercept. In this case, we don't know the y-intercept, so we're going to use the first equation. Okay, so Typically speaking, if you're given a graph and you're able to see where the line intersects with the y-axis, then you'd use the second one. But if you're not given a graph and you're given a point and a coordinate, you go with the first equation. So we'll get back out of that and we look at this here. So we have y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Y stays the same. Minus y1 is going to be your 7. So it's going to be y minus, and then you're going to put in your y1, which in this case is 7. Equals m. M in this case was the slope, which is 1 over 3, times x minus x1. So x minus, and then I'm going to put in the x1 value, which is a negative 2. If I have to put in a negative value, that's perfectly fine, but you should know that in the next step, the minus minus will turn into a plus. So we're going to end up with y minus 7 is equal to 1 over 3 times x plus 2. Because if you've got a minus multiplied by a minus, it turns into a plus. So in this case here, a minus minus turns into a plus. The next line, when you're dealing with equations and fractions, you always want to get rid of fractions because fractions just make things complicated. So if you want to get rid of the third on this side, all you do is you do the opposite, divide by 3. So you multiply everything by the denominator. So if we multiplied all this by 3, this would turn into 1 and we'd have 1 times this. So that's perfectly fine. So let's do that. So if we multiply everything here by 3 and the third cancel and we're left with this here. But because we multiplied the right hand side by 3, we have to do the same and multiply the left hand side by 3. So you can see where that came from. So 3 bracket y minus 7, 3 bracket y minus 7 is equal to the 3 and the 3 cancel to give us 1 times x plus 2. We now expand this and we get 3y minus 21, 3y, and 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. 1 times x is x, 1 times 2 is plus 2. And now the last part is just to order it all so that we get our x's first, our y second, and our numbers last. So what I did was I brought everything to the right hand side because the x was here. I brought the 3y over and it became a minus 3y. I brought the negative 21 over and it became a positive 21. The plus 2 was already on the right hand side, so that stayed as plus 2. And the last step then was just tidied up. So all the x's together gave me x, all the y's gave me minus 3y, and 2 there plus 21 gives us 23. Equals to 0, equals to 0. And that was worth 5 marks. That brings us on there to the last part, which is part C. Part C. It says the point 42 is shown in each of the 2 coordinate diagrams below. Part 1. Draw the line segment through point 42 with a slope of 2 on the coordinate diagram below with a range of minus 2 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 6, where y is an element of r. So real numbers just means that it includes everything, decimals, fractions, percent, everything, right? Between minus 2 and 6. So they're just saying that your range is going to be for your y values between minus 2 and positive 6. Okay, so they gave us this point here, which was 4,2. Then they told us the slope was going to be equal to 2. You should know that if m is equal to 2, the rise over the run is going to be equal to 2. Another way of writing 2 without changing the value of it is 2 over 1. So if you're ever given a number and you want to turn it into a fraction, you just divide it by 1. 2 divided by 1 is the same as 2. So that means that the rise over the run is going to be 2 over 1. So that means we're going to be running across 1 and we're going to be rising up 2. So running across 1, rising up 2. Same again, run across 1, rise up 2. You could also work backwards and instead of rising up 2, you can rise down 2 and run across 1, rise down 2 and run across 1. And that there gives us a line. Okay. The important thing to note here is that as you read, similar when you're reading text, so as we read text, we read from left to right. When you're reading graphs, if you read from left to right, if it's increasing, then it's obviously going to be a positive slope. Okay. Whereas if you were reading left to right and it was decreasing, you'd have a negative slope. And we can see that here in part 2. So in part 2, it said, given the point 42, which is here, and a slope of minus 2 over 3. So that means the slope is going to be going in this direction. Okay. So as we read from left to right, so if you're looking at this slope and you're reading from left to right, this graph, you can see that the slope is going down. Okay. So because the slope is negative, it's always going to go down. So that means we've got a negative slope, so we know it's going in this direction. We've got a rise of 2 and a run of 3. Okay, so it's going down 2 and it's running in 3. Down 2, running in 3. So that completes the question. And part C there, if you got part 1 and part 2 correct, you would have got 5 marks.